Welcome back to the channel, JK here, and this is Joy-Con Gaming. It's 2026, baby, and it's going to be a really exciting year for us Nintendo fans because Nintendo has three of their biggest franchises, Super Mario, Zelda, and Pokémon, that are all hitting major anniversaries this year. And even though it's the beginning of a new year, a new calendar year, the Switch 2 is only just 6 months old, and so it's only just starting to hit its stride. And we still don't know what Nintendo has in store for us this year. There's bound to be a lot. As I said, it's a huge year for Nintendo. So I'm here to give my top 10 predictions on what they're going to drop. Let's get into it. Right, let's start where it makes the most noise. Pokémon Gen 10. Gen 9 launched back in November 2022 with Scarlet and Violet, and although that doesn't sound like that long ago, in Pokémon terms, it is exactly the right amount of breathing room for a new generation. And what makes this different though is the timing, because in 2026 it marks Pokemon's 30th anniversary. Yes, that makes me feel super old. And it also changed the stakes dramatically. Gen 10 won't just feel like the next Pokemon game. I personally feel like it's going to draw a line in the sand and be a moment where the series has a chance to prove it understands its scale, its legacy, and its future. If Gen 10 does land in 2026, it will almost certainly be a holiday release, likely in November, giving time to hype it up and get in everyone's shopping baskets for Christmas. Pokemon owns that window as it always has, and I'll fully expect it to be a Switch 2 exclusive. This feels like a clean break that Pokemon needs. There'll be no more dragging older hardware forward, and that means it won't need to make compromises like Scarlet and Violet did on Switch 1. It will be a fresh start on brand new hardware, and the Switch 2 will probably have a bundle as well to help Nintendo drive more sales during its most important holiday period. Prediction number 2. I think the Nintendo Switch Online base tier is about to get hit by a whole wave of Pokemon Game Boy nostalgia. Like I just said, Pokemon's turning 30, and it started life on the Game Boy, so a Game Boy focused Nintendo Switch Online update feels extremely likely to me, especially at the base tier. And I think that what we would expect would be the headliners would be Pokemon Red and Pokemon Blue. Those games lay down the foundation for the entire franchise, and Nintendo knows exactly how powerful they still are even decades later. To round things out, I think they could also add some other Pokemon titles like Pokemon Pinball, Pokemon Puzzle Challenge, and Pokemon Picross, and that would give subscribers really great RPG experiences, but also access to some of Pokemon's weirder and more experimental titles. Prediction number 3, Zelda Ocarina of Time Remake. If there's ever been a year where an Ocarina of Time remake makes the most sense, it's 2026. It's Zelda's 40th anniversary, and that is just simply too big for Nintendo to ignore. We've already seen subtle signs pointing in this direction. For example, LEGO are leaning heavily in Ocarina era imagery. They have some new sets which have come out, and featuring the showdown with Ganon on top of Hyrule Castle. And they also had a Great Deku Tree set last year as well, so it had a Breath of the Wild and an Ocarina of Time variant of the Great Deku Tree. So strong signs from LEGO pointing in that direction. We also have the Zelda movie, which, although we've seen very little of it in terms of trailers and screenshots, it does look like it's going to take a more grounded classic tone. And that's giving me Twilight Princess, maybe Ocarina of Time vibes. So maybe that's a hint towards that. Prediction number 4. Coming back to the NSO, the Nintendo Switch Online experience, I think the expansion pass is going to get some heavy hitters. On the Mario side, I think we will get some serious additions like Super Mario Sunshine for the GameCube, Super Mario Bros. 64, Donkey Kong 64, and maybe some Mario adjacent titles for Game Boy Advance like WarioWare Twisted. That's a lineup that spans multiple consoles and reinforces Mario's legacy without relying on a single massive new release. For Zelda's 40th anniversary, I think Four Swords Adventures stands out as a perfect expansion pass title. It's linear, it's level based, it's multiplayer focused, it makes an ideal game for the online service. And if Nintendo does modernize it with online co-op, which I think they will, sort of replacing the Game Boy Advance link cable, then yeah, it's going to be a great time. It showcases a side of Zelda many players actually have never experienced, and I think that'll be quite surprising for newcomers. And yeah, as I mentioned, with an Ocarina of Time remake potentially launching in the same year, this would give players an enormous amount of Zelda to dive into, which would be perfect for the anniversary. Prediction 5, Xenoblade. Monolith Soft has quietly become one of Nintendo's most reliable studios, and for nearly a decade we've received some form of Xenoblade content almost every year, whether that's a new game, an expansion, or a remaster. So in 2026, I think we will see Switch 2 upgrades for all of the existing Xenoblade titles. I think they're going to get updates with higher resolution, better performance, and faster load times, and that will go a long way towards showcasing them on the new hardware. And alongside that, I do think we might get a small teaser for what's next. I don't think it will be a full reveal. I think we'll get a little sliver of content, just enough to signal the future of Xenoblade and get people excited for what they will inevitably drop in 2027. Prediction 6. I think the Zelda movie is going to get its first full-length, proper trailer, and it's going to be very exciting. As I've already mentioned, it's Zelda's 40th anniversary, and we also know that Nintendo are bringing out a Zelda film in 2027. I predict that the film's going to have an original story. I don't think it's going to try and redo what they've done in previous games. I think it's going to be a brand new story, but I do think it's going to pull on imagery and themes from across the franchise, such as the classic dungeon crawling, legendary heroes, and items, and a version of Hyrule that feels timeless. And by that, what I mean is the Zelda timeline splits into 3 branches. I think they're going to not worry about that too much and position it in a way that there'll be maybe some elements from each of the branches, and it's going to be quite ambiguous. And I think that's because Nintendo wants to position the film as Zelda retold as a myth rather than being strictly canon. When will they release it? I think September to November would be a really good time. It's going to anchor the anniversary, and it will be a great start to kick off that long marketing runway, building up hype towards the release of the film in May 2027. I can't lie, I am excited, but I'm also very, very nervous for this film because it's live action. If they went down a animated or anime approach for Zelda, I would feel a lot more relaxed. But yeah, fingers crossed they pull this off, and it's a great film. Prediction 7. Mario Kart World will get free DLC for Nintendo Switch Online subscribers, and paid DLC for those who aren't already on the service. Now, Mario Kart World is awesome. It's a really fun game. It's already strong. People are having a great time, but the sentiment is clear online. It needs more content. I mean, it's being compared directly to Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, which is probably it is the most content-packed Mario Kart game ever. So Nintendo can combat that by offering some free DLC for Nintendo Switch Online subscribers. I think they could introduce new tracks and new characters, but also new modes. We need a 200cc mode, and I think we also need some new multiplayer modes like Shine Thief. And the one that most people are talking about online is a core tracks only mode, so you can skip driving between locations and just keep it as classic Mario Kart, where you just do 3 or 5 laps on a track. And that approach avoids splitting the player base, and it will add real value to Nintendo Switch Online, and it will reframe Mario Kart World as an evolving platform rather than a one and done release, which I think is Nintendo's strategy with that game anyway. So yep, let's look forward to that. My next prediction is that we're going to see a return to some of that more playful, wacky and wild side of Nintendo. They're going to bring out a new game that will be a camera-focused party game. Now, we know that Nintendo released the camera as a additional accessory that you can purchase for the Switch too, but there isn't really a strong reason to buy it at the minute, in my opinion. So I think they can remedy that by bringing out a really fun party-based game with tons of titles and ways that you can play the game by using actions on the camera. And I think it should come in bundled with the game. So Nintendo has done this before, where they've brought out games with additional hardware that's bundled in. For example, Ring Fit Adventure, and also some titles on the Wii even came with a Wii controller. I think Skyward Sword came with the Pro Motion Plus Wii controller. So it's not unprecedented for Nintendo to do that. The game itself, if you have ever seen the iToy back on the PlayStation 2 or the Xbox Kinect, think that, but filtered entirely through Nintendo's wacky, playful design philosophy. I don't think it's going to be fitness focused. I don't think it's going to be tech demo heavy. I think it's just going to be playful, silly, and fun. It will incorporate things like body movements, facial reactions, and gesture-based minigames, and it's just going to be chaotic fun. So that's the sort of game I'm expecting. Let's see if they bring it out. Prediction number 9. I think we'll also see another brand new IP for Nintendo, and it's going to have a big online focus. Back in 2025, Nintendo tested a online game with a very select number of people. You could apply to be part of the beta testing program for this mysterious game, and only I think it was around 1,000 people, maybe it was a bit more. It's not that many really in the grand scheme of things, got invited to play the game. And there were a few channels that tried to cover the game. They got their invite accepted, and all of the content got completely shut down and locked down by Nintendo, so it's still very much unknown what that game is. And final prediction, I think this one is a fairly safe bet. We will see Luigi's Mansion 4 release. Luigi's Mansion 3 has sold over 12 million copies, which is mental. It's quietly turned the series into one of Nintendo's most successful Mario-adjacent franchises ever. And at this point, Luigi's Mansion is not really a spin-off. It's not even really niche. It's a mainstream title. It's a proven premium property that makes Luigi's Mansion 4 an ideal tentpole release for 2026, especially as part of the extended Mario anniversary celebrations. It will deliver a major first-party title without stepping on a new 3D Mario, while also serving as a strong hardware showcase for advanced lighting, expressive animation, and rich environmental detail. Luigi's Mansion 3 is one of the prettiest games on the Nintendo Switch, so I expect Luigi's Mansion 4 will also be that for the Switch too, although it does have Metroid Prime 4 Beyond to contend with, because that game is absolutely beautiful. Yeah, it's familiar enough to anchor the year, it's distinctive enough to stand on its own, and it's exactly the kind of release Nintendo loves to position at the centre of a big transition year, and also they'll probably release it near the holiday season as well as one of their main titles alongside Pokémon.
Luigi time!
So those were my personal predictions. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Am I talking a load of nonsense? I mean, maybe. Only time will tell. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe to the channel, hit that like button, and yeah, I'll see you in the next video, and until then, keep sharing the joy.